You may have vertical sections and you may have horizontal sections. So a section break is introduced by the page layout tab, and then you see the blue highlighted option, section break to next page, goes to the next page, of course. Section break continuous, which is the other one, doesn't go to the next page, but changes the layout options inside the same section, as been shown in a video before. So let me show you how to do this on a document you already know. So far so good, this is just a single document. Let's say that at the definition chapter, I want to introduce a section break. Now, first of all, let me switch on the show height toggle so that I can see the special characters around. Then clicking here in the section, in the distance between the end of introduction and the beginning of definition, I can go to layout there and select breaks there, and then select a section break to the next page. You see that there is a section break here because I have switched on the toggle switch. Now this chapter, architecture, I want to return it to a section break again. But first of all, let me show you what I can do here. In this definition chapter, the typical example that shows how a section works is now I turn it landscape. You see, from this section break on, everything is landscape. Let's say I want just this definition chapter. I don't want all the rest of the document landscape. So positioning at the beginning of the next chapter, it's always better to give a new line around, or even better, at the end of this chapter, at the end of a chapter definition. I can insert again a section break to next page, and the section break shows here, and then this third section now I can return them to portrait. So that's it. Section 1, the first 5 pages. Section 2, landscape, horizontal. And section 3, back to normal. From now on here, if I introduce more lines, I can introduce here something we are going to learn in middle grade now. Insert a table. I use this example here because one of the most common reasons we put pages landscape, horizontal, whatever it is because we have something which is long to show. One more reason why I might want to introduce the sections is to modify, let's say, the number of columns we want to see. Like positioning, first of all, inside this section, I can choose 2 columns. Now with 2 columns, point is that the table has also been split. This is the case where we want to introduce here at the end of the text of the section 2, that one which is 2 columns and landscape, a section break that doesn't go to a new page. Continuous section break. Continuous section break has introduced a section break between the section 2 with layout a horizontal landscape and the table. But then in the third section, now the third section here, I can go back to one column. So we have now section 1 with these first 5 pages. Then section 2 with the page and the section break here that goes to section 3 now, which is always portrait horizontal but has a single column because the table is a single column. And then we go back to section 4 now that has again the standard portrait vertical arrangement. So let me show you zooming in what happens when I redo the operation. I have this page horizontal with a section break here to next page. So this page with the text definition and this page are all part of one section that starts here and then ends up here, and it's the second section. If I say add the text here, so that this text goes to the next page, I might want to have 2 columns, layout, columns, 2 columns. But then I have the table broken. So in between the end of the text in 2 columns and the table, in this position here, I include another break, continuous this time, so that doesn't move this to the next page, but allows me to, in the section between the break of the text and the break to next page, go back to one single column, which will allow us to see the table all in its entire length. I think the explanation with words was not so good because of my voice today, but that you have understood clearly what's going on. Isn't this really terrific? Is it not? Now, since every section break behaves almost as an entire document by itself, we hit some specific issue in page numbers. Page numbers are very important in document. Page numbers are reported in the table of contents, and also page numbers must be, sequential. You can't have page 1, 2, 3, 4, then page 0, 1, 2, 3, then page 4, 6, 7. Doesn't work like that. Now, the fact is as simple as that. Every time you have a section break, you have to check that page numbers. You format the page numbers in the page and check what's written in this box, what you see. Continue from previous section. That's the important thing. This slide is quite confusing. It's quite complicated because it is complicated. I'm trying to show you in the next video screen capture what happens. So we have the same document we've been working on so far. Well, I have been working on this document as an example, and now I insert a page numbers. Insert page number, bottom of the page, this one, accent bar 2, whatever. Oh, let's do accent bar 3, page and then the number. Okay, we are there. What we have here? First of all, you see that headers and footers now also refer to the section. You have footer for section 1, header for section 1, and then so on and on. First page footer and first page header are different. They are not written over, because this is the cover page, and it's correct that in the cover page of a book or anywhere else there is no such thing as the page number. Page number begin in page 1 here. Footer section 1, page 1, and they go on as they should. Then we have page 2, then we have page 3, then guess what? We have page 4. Problem is, now you remember we have a section break to the next page. Double clicking on the text, you will hide the footer and header edit area. Remember we put a section break here, so from the section break here we go to section 2, and double clicking on the top area we visualize the new thing. First page header section 2, header section 2, and also first page footer section 2 and footer section 2. So you see in section 2 Word for the page number starts from scratch. Again, the first page of section 2 has no page number, and the second page has page 1, which will result in a weird thing, page 3, 4, nothing, 1. You can check whether this happens or not easily after you'll be working on a document when you go and update the table of contents page. Remember to update the table of contents page. It is an important activity to update the table of contents page because it's where I check lots of things. Update the entire table, and we have some weird thing. Introduction page 3, definition page 0. Let me zoom in so you understand what I'm talking about. Introduction page 3, then page 0, page 1. What kind of table of contents is this? You present a paper like that, and paper get binned, thrown in the trash even before you read it. Do not even dare to present a table of contents 3001 or something like that. You really understand that this is not possible. This is unreasonable. Presenting something like this, it's a clear evidence that you don't care anything about this document. You present whatever it comes out. I mean, rubbish. I don't care. It's very bad to receive a document with such a thing. So let's check how we can make so that this doesn't happen. Zoom out a little bit. So we go to the 3 pages again. Right. At this point, let's face what happens in page 2. It's the table of contents page. Introduction is in page 3, and then we are back. Definition in page 0. Okay, look. First of all, let me reassign. This is not something relevant to that, but I want to redefine the headings with the number. Now, double click footer section 2. There is nothing here. Well, we have to insert the page number again using the same style, and it shows page 0 and page 1. Then we right click here. No, excuse me. Then you go to insert page number, and at this time you format the page number. After you have inserted the page number again in section 2, you format the page number, and this box shows up and you can see continue from previous section, clicking OK. Then this is page 5 because it's after page 4, and so page 5 it's followed by page 6. There is a section break again. Remember, we have a section break next page here, and therefore after this section break we have again a page 0 on the bottom right. And again here we have to position ourselves into the footer section and go to insert page number and format the page numbers because they're already there. And again click continue from previous section. Clicking OK here. Previous section, same as previous. First page footer. Section 3, section 3, previous section break. Yeah. Page 1 again. This kind of things happen all the time. So we insert the page number again. And we reformat the page number. This is something that happens because we have inserted also another section break here without continuous. Section break next page. Let me show you why. We have a section break continuous here, and so there is a section where there is no page number. Layout, one column, section break the next page, section 2, section 4. From section 2 here we go to section 4 because there is too big of a section break, too many section breaks, and therefore we have to yeah, now section 3 shows up. Section 3 was not an entire page, and so we could not insert any page number in section 3. At this point we can format the page number, continue from previous section, and everything goes all right. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Section 3 was not an entire page. That's the reason why. At this point, perhaps we might recover the cell there, and yes, it works. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so on and on. Make sure we check the table of contents. 3, 5, 7, 8, no, that's fine. Now that makes sense. Now this is a table of contents worth presenting. I guess everybody knows what a footnote is. There's a number in the middle of the text that then links to a bottom of the page link or a reference. You can link a website, or you can link a paper, or you can link a book. This is particularly important for all of you because as a student, when you write something, when you write your papers, your projects, you need all the time, every time, each time you declare something, to quote the source. Let me make it clear. As a student, you are not authorized to express an opinion. Oh, that's too hard. You are not authoritative to declare something, to state something. So when you say we have 20,432 people with sunglasses in summer, there must be a footnote. Somewhere you have taken this data because it is not yours. You cannot express this data because unless you have a work in which you say how it's been collected. So anytime you quote some source, anytime you quote something, this is the way you write it in Word. Actually, there are two ways. What you see here is the footnote. There is another way called the endnote, in which the link, the reference, is not at the bottom of the page, but it's at the end of the document. In the next screen capture, I will show you how it works. With my last bit of voice, in this page you find a picture, which is also a link to a Microsoft Word tutorial. Very handy and very helpful. Okay, this is the document, and at some point in the document you want to insert a reference. Say, particular size of dataset. Here you want to insert a footnote. Then you go to the References tab up there and type Insert Footnote. You see there is a small number here. In this place, I evidentiate it. When you hover on it, it shows a link, a small box that relates to the text. And here at the bottom of the page, you write the reference, like and this is the reference. So whenever you hover on, I think you have to, right, no, that's fine. When you go and hover on it, you find the reference to the footnote. This is the footnote because it's in the footer. You guessed it. I know you're brilliant. Let me show you now what is the end note. I know that's very difficult to understand. At the term big data, let's say that in big data I want to enter something, a reference that does not appear at the bottom of the page, but I want it at the end of the paper. Insert endnote. Again, I quote the same brilliant author. And that was in the first page, I'm afraid. And if we go down there to the page where we entered, here, big data, you see this is I in Roman small caps numerals, and again you hover with the mouse on it and it shows you what is the reference. Two very authoritative references. I don't think I need to explain that. You should know that very well already, but anyway, you are an international audience, and we all among us, we speak probably a dozen languages or so. So it's nice to know that Word has a spelling checker and a find and replace, where you can find word and replace with others, and most of all you can set your proofing language so that if you make a misspelling of a word in the language you have selected, Word highlights it if you have given that the option. This is done into the Review tab. There's a language command group with set proofing language. You can set the language you want. Next slide, please. In some cases, the language had to be installed. it is not obvious that all languages necessary are installed with the installation of Office. This is something you pay for. A multi-language installation costs more than a single language application installation, sorry. That doesn't depend on you unless you install it on your computer, but the International Edition, the 365, the Cloud Edition of Office should allow you to use any language. Beware of the fact that, as you have probably noticed in the computers in the lab, sometimes even if you set the English language, then something comes up in the language of the country you are in. This is a nuisance that is more and more common as we move everything on the cloud. When we are on the cloud, Microsoft knows where we are typing from. We are identified by here an Italian IP address. Google and Microsoft knows exactly who you are and most of all where you are. So sometimes try to override the localization is not always successful. Anyway, good luck with the spelling checker. We have already done the watermark. There are also page color and page borders. My real recommendation here is use background color wisely. Do not penalize, do not hamper readability. People that wants to read your paper should be already awarded and commended, and you be grateful for reading your paper. Don't make it difficult for it. Worth noting historically, a background was considered useful to make photocopies difficult when you didn't want to make a document easily copyable. That was in the old days. Yes, that's exactly my point. Don't use weird backgrounds. Sometimes we need to show inside Word tables. I have drafted an example of a very simple empty table a few slides ago. The most important thing to remember is that tables in Word are not spreadsheets. They don't do any calculation. They do not compute nothing. It's just to show documentary information, quantitative information. There is a function called sum that sums the number inside a table, but it's not recommended because it's not automatically updated and it is prone to show up errors, especially if at some point you change the numbers many times and you don't keep track and you don't. So the best thing to do is use table in Word only when you have to document, historical data, something that doesn't change. The number of, economic or financial data or, scientific, historical stuff, not elaboration. Otherwise, if you have to show up computed numbers, that's when we include Excel tables in Word, which is the next step. Anyhow, if you follow the link behind the picture, you are taken to a Microsoft tutorial, which is very simple because it's a very simple thing to insert a table in Word. Just like in Excel, you can insert rows above and below, you can insert columns in the table. Now, it's good that you know that you can insert some simple formulas in tables, but remember, formulas are not automatically updated. That's the difference with Excel. And so I really strongly recommend that you use Word for doing things like Word, and you keep Excel for things that needs number crunching. A table in Word, it's a simple thing that shows data that are not necessarily recent, that are not going to be used for any further elaboration on this document. And it's still something that is pretty often quite useful. Normally what you do is you do the tables in Excel and then import them into Word. But sometimes, because tables in Word, sometimes they're useful, but tables in Word, you have to type the numbers yourself, even the sums. In the event, you have to include a formula in a Word table, then right-click on the result and select Update if you have changed the number on the column. Again, this is something to be used, sparingly.